What's up, everybody, and welcome, because today we're going to be starting our review of this entire series, of this brand new series that's dropping on Starz, Run the World. So you can expect us dropping weekly episodic reviews, and we're going to be bringing some really amazing commentary and discussion for each of these episodes. Now, you may have seen myself and Lucas cover other shows such as Snowfall and Power and whatnot, and then you've also seen Amaya, who's also joined us on reviews for Insecure. But now this is going to be our team covering Run the World, which again making its premiere on Starz May 16th. So really quickly before we get started, let me just introduce the team for us for this season. First, we have Jasmine, who is a social media influencer and YouTuber. Jasmine, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. And as I said, Amaya, who is a published author and blogger. Amaya, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful.
Awesome. And as you know, always by my side, Uncle Lucas, film critic and podcaster. Lucas, how's it going?
Oh, I was waiting for like published author. I can influence people too. I'm doing everything. I'm here to do everything. I'm telling you.
Oh man. So we in our previous things that we review, a lot of people have reached out and told us different shows that they wanted us to review, and we identified this one. So we're very excited to finally start to cover, as we'll be making this premiere on Starz May 16th. And one of the biggest draws to this show for us is obviously a show that was really pivotal in my household, and I'm pretty sure they can mirror the same in Living Single, who this show is brought to you by showrunner and executive producer Yvette Leigh Bowser. Yeah, so with her latest projects in Blackish and in Dear White People, this just seems like a perfect show for us to be able to cover, and we hope that you all enjoy our weekly reviews of it. But yeah, this is the episode 1. This is the pilot episode, and we're going to start off by addressing that. This is a pilot episode, and what's really pivotal about pilot episodes is how does it perform in order to keep the audience here for the duration of the season. So we're going to start off with you, Amaya. This is the pilot episode. What's your initial thoughts of this episode?
Wow. There was a lot happening. I don't know if I had any expectations, to be quite honest. I know that Living Single was obviously very far ago. And when it comes to like Black Lightning, I dibble dabble with that show a little bit. So I'm not familiar too much with the writing. However, yeah, there was a lot happening here. Of course, a few familiar faces, with the crew. I think it's interesting so far. I'm still trying. There were a lot of dynamics in the one episode that I saw. I see the different storylines. So I think it's something I would just kind of pay attention to. But overall, I think they are. Well, she's trying to get everything together. In that sense of like getting the flow, so to speak, right? So we have 4 separate storylines because we have 4 separate characters, but I see that there is like trying to be that cohesiveness. So yeah, it's for me, it was just like, okay, cool.
All right, Jasmine.
I could say the same thing. It's like the introductory episode. We're starting to figure out who is who and what's happening. It's a lot of different stories. Starts off with a group of girls at a club, which engages the viewer a little bit to see what's going to happen. Because, when you start off in the club, anything can happen in the club. Right. So, those kind of conversations was, engaging. And then it led on to other topics that are relatable, especially in the ethnic community, I feel. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I feel like it's progressing. There's more to find out as the episodes continue.
I'll quickly say that none of these characters feel like characters I've seen on television. No. I have heard rumors of these type of characters, but of course most women don't break girl code. But now that we have our front row seat of things that be going on with y'all in the discussion I'll be having, it's a little bit of a perspective here for us. So I am intrigued as well too. I will say that the first part of this episode started off a little bit slow for me, but the intrigue grew as we really saw how distinct the four of them are. Although they are friends, it's one of those ones where like they had been friends for a long time, because I do not see how they have anything in common as of right now, besides they all can drink. So my initial thoughts and intrigue going into it. So for a pilot episode, I'll say like it has me definitely intrigued to see what's to come. Lucas.
Okay. Had to take a breath first. Okay. So if you like late 90s, early 2000s, UPN type of comedies, that's what this pilot episode felt like. It felt like something from yesteryear, and I'm assuming that was purposefully done. I think it's done because in a show like this, on this type of network, and to separate it from the other 30-minute Black sitcom that's on another network, you had to bring it and make it more familiar to the audience. So when we get into it, from the club to the interactions to introducing every character, it just felt like an older show that I would be comfortable with. And I think that's and I think they did that because I need to bring you into it before I get to the serious subject matter.
Okay.
Right.
I have to engage you from the beginning. I have to make you, while you turn this on, you say, hey, this seems familiar. I know these characters. The uppity one, the one whose career's falling apart and she's getting it back together. Like, you know these characters. And because you know these characters and they're familiar to you, maybe if I put them in a familiar setting, it will pique your interest. Because that's all a pilot episode should do. It should pique your interest just enough to make you want to go to the next episode. And for Starz, it kind of fits because that's what happened with the first episode of P-Valley. If anyone ever remembers, it stuck out because it felt nothing like the rest of the season. And I think that's what this show is going to do. They introduce you to the characters, as both Amaya and Jasmine said. It's a lot going on in this episode. But break it down. It's actually not that much because they only reveal tidbits of each character to pull you in. And when we get you in, we can separate it. We can focus on two ladies here, maybe one lady here, two ladies there. It's like, I understand the formula that's put behind the show. And with Yvette doing my favorite show, because I was going to sing the Living Single theme as we came in here. Living Single theme as we came in. And also with, I think this is also from the producers of Dear White People. And that show felt the same way, where the first episode introduced you to lots of characters. And then it slowly broke it down. So if anything, I'm looking forward to episode 2 and 3, because that's when you get to me the heart of a series.
And I'll just add one other thing too. Most as we know from other things we reviewed, by episode 5 is when we're going to hit our hard point. So this was the tidbits. 2 and 3 got to lay a little bit of pavement, but 5 has got to be looking like, what are we building here? Like a driveway, sidewalk. What are we doing here? And I think that as sometimes, like you said, pilot episodes could be make or break, and I think we all can ensure that we are intrigued at least to see where these characters are going. And ultimately, what's the overall arc for this season? Because we're just getting introduced to the characters. We don't know what's really the tough dynamic overall for the season, but we can kind of have some reassurance with the title being Run the World, which you know is a play on Beyonce's Who Run the World Girls, that we're going to see them, while they're having different swirling failures or deemed failures in life, that we're going to see some resilience in play. And I also think that, much like you said, this being in a familiar place, Harlem, New York, the place where a lot of people, have, that moniker of the diamond out of the rough. Those statements came from people who came out of places deemed as the hood and whatnot, and ultimately flourishing in their career. So I think there's a lot that we're going to be able to identify with and connect with going forward. But I think, for the pilot episode, definitely a lot of good sprinkles and tidbits there. So I just want to quickly read the synopsis real quick, and then I'm going to throw another question at you all really fast. So for this episode, we are following Elle, who is, after 2 years of her failed book to impress critics, she starts her first day at Hot Tea Digest, which is a tabloid website that she found is beneath her. They're already sending her to go cover Soldier Boy, who is, I don't know, but that's a question for another day later. But while she is tasked to go cover Soldier Boy at the club, she brings her friends Whitney and Renee, and this is a Legends party. At the same time, too, they have another friend, Sandy, who finds herself at odds with her boyfriend and taking care of his daughter, his 6-year-old daughter, Amari, who I think was definitely a bright spot in this episode. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I know I did list our 4 women, but overall, of all the characters that were introduced thus far, who do you find is the most intriguing or relatable to you? We'll start with you, Jasmine.
For me, I can say it's Sandy for sure. But more so on the parenting side. I know she's playing stepmom right now, which is like pretty much a what do you call it? Like a real situation where, broken families and you pick up a child and you have to learn how to adjust. But for me, like that first scene where the child, knocks on the door while they getting their freak on, and it's like, dang, man, out of all the times you call daddy, it's like right now. So,
that was definitely an interesting scene.
I know that. And then how, I felt like, there was certain elements where, she, where you're siding with one parent versus the other, how she stepped across the line by, making her own, decision on putting her in a different ballet course. And, the real father's like, hold up, that ain't your kid. It's my kid. Now it's like, hold up, that's where it gets a little entertaining. Like, this happens in real life. People pick up other people's kids every day, when you start a relationship. So that's when I feel like it's more relatable to me. Honestly.
Okay. Mine?
Listen, I'm like a little combination of all, but if I had to absolutely choose one, it's probably definitely going to be, is it Elle?
Yep.
So, and only the reason why I say that's because there are very many times where I have taken on a job, and Lucas can attest to this, right? I will take a job and I'm there for 3 weeks and I'm like, I hate this place, right? This is beneath me. I need to be out of here. And I'm already looking for jobs while I'm at work on the work computer. Let me put Indeed real quick. But I definitely think I would definitely choose her just because I understand that she's passionate. So I see her as the person who is passionate about her book, but that didn't work out. So now she has to have a fallback plan. So I feel like I relate to that because I understand wanting to be able to do your own thing, but it not working out the way you wanted to, and you having to have okay, well, let me pick my ass up and figure this out because I don't have time to sit around and do nothing. So I would go with her.
Lucas?
What woman do I most identify with? Is that the question? Because that's an odd question for me.
What character do you find most intriguing thus far or relatable? That's all. And by relatable, you could be you have seen one of these characters in your day to day or whatever it may be.
I just had to make sure it wasn't the one I identify with. That's what normally happens, right? That's normally what happens here, but I'm actually going to agree with Jasmine and say Sandy is did I say her name right? I said it right.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy is the most interesting character on this show to me so far because to me, her storyline can be the most complex one. Mm-hmm. She's literally in a long term. She's doing what we teach women not to do. You don't act like you're married before you're married.
Right.
She's taking on a child. She's playing the role of mommy. And then when a rubber meets the road, the dad's like, really, that's not your place.
Yeah, that's wild, dude.
I think that can be a very interesting and crazy element of this show.
Yeah.
Is her realizing that this may not be the relationship for her, or as they get and progress, and she realizes possibly that he doesn't have any intention of actually marrying her. How much say-so does a girlfriend have?
Mm-hmm.
Especially over that child's life. And when she tells her, no, that's not my child, but I've been around since she's 4, Like that hurt me. That it hurt because I was like, oh
yeah,
like that has to hurt when other women like, oh, you're her mom, and then you have to tell a story that no, and I'm not married. I'm the girlfriend.
Yeah. And look, and she also said that like she basically talked herself into a corner where she's like, well, and we can't even do anything towards that progression because I would jeopardize his job, which he takes the most pride in because, as she said, anytime he gets a chance to speak, he's going to do so. So
it's a crazy dynamic that I am super interested in. And quickly, Elle, her storyline with Soldier Boy was amazing. And the reason why, and I know in Niger poo-pooed Soldier Boy being a legend on this show, but apparently with him having kind of resurgence going on, this episode feels so timely that
good point
was the artist that they went with.
She made
him having like a huge song going on at this moment for this, and for the way he speaks on social media and calling himself a legend, and for them to have a Legends Ball with Soldier Boy, that was timely.
Let me be very clear here. Soldier Boy, by all means, deserves all bit of the accolades that are thrown his way. The only issue why I was like Soldier Boy is because they're on the East Coast. Why, who booked Soldier Boy on the East Coast in Harlem for a Legends night?
Everybody in every club who thinks they can sell out will book Soldier Boy.
Clearly, I mean, like this, you know that the shoe don't fit here. But
you're being disrespectful, Mr. Tellum. Book Mr. Tellum. All of them will book Mr.
Tellum. Oh man, Draco, man, put some respect on Draco. Drake. Anyway, but for me, I want to say that Whitney is the most intriguing to me right now. There's not a lot going on with her character besides her just really wanting to get Dee down. However, what is intriguing to me is that she broke cardinal girl code. Her girlfriend said, I didn't hit that. Everyone didn't hit that. That's a big deterrent to don't do it. And she did it with flying stripes. Like, yes, I'm on the list too. I mean, she did the turnover and was like, life is complete. Like
I can't say nothing because only Jasmine and Amaya can speak, but I don't think that's a violation of girl code.
Maybe I'm the eyeball, so I'm gonna ask Jasmine. So as long as it's community peen, it's fair game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a slander or was it actually facts?
No. She mentioned that all of them had slept with him. So
it wasn't a big deal.
He's free game. Now is in love with a man and then I'm her friend and I'm like, and they broke up and then I go sleep with him. That's freaking girl code.
But she definitely said she said he was perfect. She was like,
no.
I mean, when it comes in that category, in the more sexual aspect, it was more like, all right, because she made it seem like when Whitney was talking about how, like, I've been cooking, cleaning, being with the love of, my childhood, love of my life. So it's like she was replicating how she just missed out on a lot. So she's like, when I could have been hitting that right there. And then, friends like, everything's amazing, popping, you're going to have the time of your life, but I wouldn't jeopardize your happy home for this.
Yeah, these are facts.
All I know is the way how I see this is that Elle was basically like, man, he's amazing. Right. Doesn't hit that. To me, I've got that as like she's saying, so I'm just letting you know he done been around, but you gotta think Elle was so riled up over that discussion. She went right over to what was his name? Brian.
She made it appealing.
She went bang, bang, bang. She was like, there's my ex. I don't miss you, but also this is a no, but hey, my man Brian in the club, you trying to share that taxi? Like she them thoughts triggered through her head. I mean, she went deep into text messages that night.
She ran into someone who she said had amazing sex. Like that's like a poster that you could put up in your home, like amazing D here. And like it really worked.
Commercial.
So even when I said it wasn't girl code violation because men do the same thing. If it's a woman who has an amazing box and everybody knows it, and you're the one friend who's been like, booed up, and you've been in a relationship since you're 12, and we like that might be the one for you right there to try, buddy.
Oh my god.
Dog. Hey, so I mean, we gotta talk about the club settings in Harlem. Is it going down like that? Like, look, I've been out there, and those gender neutral bathrooms definitely be wild. And it seems like a lot of things are parlayed in there. You just never know who you may run into.
Whoa.
So I think that we're going to get some other more random occurrences as such, because I think they definitely set a little bit of a tone as to characters being really unpredictable at this rate. And I think some of these things that kind of happen were thrown in that way to really further that narrative. But
because at the end, it was, I mean, well, I don't know if we talked about the end, but it was definitely kind of like, why did you do that?
Yeah. We'll talk about that. I just want to add one other thing before we forget. There seems to be a racial undertone in this. There was 2 scenes where we got basically commentary about discrimination and so forth. I guess I'll just kind of open this up freely. What is your thoughts about that tidbit being in this show, and how do you kind of see it progressing? Because usually when you introduce something like this, a lot of people want it to be all or nothing. You can't play around. I mean, you can't play around with these type of things and don't really, either portray a message or some type of narrative with it. At least that's how I feel. But Lucas, you can jump in there first. What's your thoughts about it thus far?
It's a show about 4 Black women. If you wasn't expecting racial undertones to be in this show, you are watching the wrong show.
Yep.
It's supposed to be here. Yep. Not only that, it's from the makers of Dear White People, who managed to do it and weave it in and out of their story so well. But here, I expected it, and it should be here. And again, these are 4 Black women. There's not a way that 4 Black women are going to live in any city and not experience some of it.
Yeah, right.
And I think they played it off well in this episode, from her at the deli with the white woman. She said, "Girl, white people don't see us." Like it was one. It brought me back to Netflix and the Ava DuVernay miniseries about the boys, because when they see us was the name of that, if I'm not mistaken. It brought me there immediately, and it's not a funny show, but that was a funny moment for me. In this episode. Another episode about at the ballet. When she's like, well, she doesn't look like everyone else. And then her and the father having a discussion of, why do you want her to always stick out? You're always going to make it something more than what it is. Those are interesting conversations that I believe this show should have.
Being a parent, I agree 100%, because it's always that difficult conversation, or if just like how that the one white woman was like, being of your ethnic background or your daughter's ethnic background, here's an
burnt me up inside from that.
Here's a nutritional guide. I'm just like, if my daughter, but that is it does happen.
Yes,
it does happen. Like, and then here's a scholarship. Like, did you present the scholarship to other? It's just these assumptions. It's just like, it's relatable. So I feel for that in that part for sure.
Yeah, I agree that all of it is something that we've heard about or we've gone through personally. So it's not far-fetched. I think that it's very much like right on the money. And I think that they did it like that for a reason, where it's like back to back to back in your face, so that they set the tone and people are like, oh, we know what the nature of this is going to be. So, okay, cool. Get prepared, basically, to have some tough conversations and
some humor mixed in with it.
Thank you.
Because these moments still had some humor in them, and that was the key part. Because when she said, because of her ethnic type, and here's it's a funny moment. But boy, is it a serious moment, because as Jasmine said, this is something they say often to kids. This ain't new.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep. And at the same time too, like, the line is written so authentic. Like, it did not. This is really the worst part about it. It didn't feel cringe because it's so natural. It's just the worst part about it. So I really do appreciate it.
Even the little girl not wanting to wear the brown slippers and her making it a race thing, and he's like, she just likes pink. Like everything doesn't have to be a race thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think that's another like nod to like a pilot episode, creating the expectations and things to go forward. So I appreciate it. And I also appreciate it as being a male to seeing again the type of discrimination and racial undertones that women deal on jobs, even if it's a job for Black folks. even if your supervisor happens to be black.
Yeah.
Like Maxine Shaw, attorney at law in this episode.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Bing, bing, bing. Yep, there you go. So overall, I'm definitely intrigued, and I definitely look forward to see where do we go from here with episode 2. Now, turn it over to you all. Any other plot points or big elements from this episode you want to throw on the table real quick?
I think that, so I wrote down a few things. So that stood out to me was like the whole conversation between, how do you say her name again?
Sandy. Yep.
Sandy. Okay. And the boyfriend, needs to get his name down pat. But
Matthew.
So when they were talking and he was like, he said something about, she responded to him about Blacks still having this second class experience, right? At here in the United States. I thought that it was very interesting that they have him, a Black man, pitching the idea that Black people should be the most patriotic. And I was just like, oh, okay. Very interesting. I think they're using a lot of keywords and like specific, almost reactionary words too, to make sure that you have some sort of feeling to it, because there's some things that you may not experience, but then there are some things that you may have already come across. So I'm a fan of that. And also I think that the scene in the cab with Elle and the guy, I don't know, for me personally, and I don't know, Jasmine may or may not, it was so dry and so fake for me. Like, and what I mean by
that doesn't happen unless you're drunk.
Like, she was just very much like, let's just get this over with type of situation. And I think many women can relate to having had that experience and being like, oh my God, this is just awful. So those were like a few things. And of course her kissing the ex and then deciding to like, no, let me walk away. Like, this is not it. A lot of tidbits for me that I kind of like just picked up, and I was like, is this my life right now? What's happening? Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna need Brian to not have all the exclusive shoes, but not even have a bed frame. Like,
oh my God. Right.
Golly.
Yeah, a bed frame.
Yeah, she quickly was like,
it's tough for women out here that they got to deal with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
It's raggedy out here, y'all. It's together. The pool has pee in it.
Exactly.
For real.
Jasmine, tidbits for you.
For me was when Sandy gave Ella, I think that's her name, Ella, the advice of don't date a man under 30, because I think her ex was under 30. So it's like they just want to play games, it's nothing serious, and that right there is how I feel like it really is in today's society.
Girl,
so that's like,
40,
for me, I feel like that's the best advice.
40, you may not know what you getting into.
I be like, look, under 30, it's like, oh, you have your fun. Under 35, have your fun. But it's like, these men don't be serious. Because it seemed like every man in the club was just some little play toy. So it's like, where do we go? Is she gonna stick to one guy, or she gonna find the one?
She was searching for something. Don't know what it was, but she was searching.
Yeah, she definitely was searching.
Maybe with Asian dude in the car. Who knows?
Exactly.
Round 2, redo.
He's gonna want to redeem himself. He is. He's gonna want to redeem himself.
My man put
whiskey.
My man put his head down. It was like, oh, it's the whiskey. Lucas.
I didn't even know that was a real thing. Like, Jesus. But
effects on people. It can go one way or it can go another way. So.
Hey, I can't say I'm old and washed now, but back in my day, that did not happen.
Oh my God.
It's something in the water. It's the pollution, the bacteria.
It's too many strands of weed out here that them kids not used to no more. That's what it is. Know what it is. What happened to a good old fashioned reefer? But my biggest takeaway was possibly Whitney, who I came into this show with her being the most identifiable actress to me because she was on the Carmichael show, which I absolutely love. And I love that this character is attempting to find themselves on this show. Because clearly that's the only reason she slept with him. When she brings up, like, I've been with this man, I really haven't experienced anything else.
Right.
Like, that was the most interesting conversation to have. Because that's true for men or women.
Yeah.
When you've been in those long-term relationships throughout your 20s, how is it to be in a constant relationship through your 20s and to your 30s? And no, you've not really experienced it with anyone else besides this one person. That is the scariest thought in the world to me. And
you haven't met yourself. Literally.
Exactly. And this character, I think, is going to go on a journey that I am looking forward to. So that was a real interesting tidbit for me in this episode.
Awesome. Well, look, there's one character no one has addressed, and that's Renee, who is the, I'll say, outspoken one. And as of right now, it looks like we don't have any sort of direction with her.
But just wait.
Just wait. She is the wingman right now. She's ready for the party whenever. She definitely wants to turn up and is ready for drinks at any given point. I think I won't say the most intriguing, but I think we will be having our detective hats on with her for a while because there's a reason why they didn't reveal anything for her, and that's what we have to wait and find out. So, that's a very interesting tactic. If you got your 4 leads and we know about 3.
Right.
And where we going? And the other one's like,
it's one other show that did this at the beginning. And I am happy that they put the comparison out in this episode. When she said, he's my big. And they're like, no, he's not your big. Like, they automatically know the comparison is going to be, is this a black Sex in the City?
Yeah.
So I love that comparison. And Sex in the City kind of did the same thing in its pilot episode where they focused on 3 women and held one back. But when they released that one, it was a big release. Like it was a huge like, that's who that character is. So I was looking, that could be a very interesting thing.
Yeah, that's a huge statement there. That's how you bring it home there.
Look at old Wash Lou coming up with thoughts and stuff, man.
My man. Well then, folks, that will do it for our review of episode 1, the pilot episodes. Definitely jump in the comments. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Come episode 2, we're getting deep into things. We're breaking these plot points down. We already got all the introduction stuff out of the way, so expect us to get fully fledged into the storylines and all the little pivotal funny points of each and every episode. But yeah, jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts about after checking out this episode. And as always, we'll see you next week for episode 2.